in the millions, and we will be. Because it starts right here.
Guilty.
Welcome to Naptown People's Radio, a weekly podcast brought to you by the Indianapolis branch of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. I'm your host, Dani Abdullah, and I'm joined by my comrade and co-host,
Derek Ford.
We're here to guide you through the pressing issues facing Indianapolis from the perspective of our people, not our oppressors. And as organizers involved in these issues, we're not just talking about the news, we're making it happen. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about a comrade who is no longer with us, Comrade Kwame Shakur. Rest in peace, rest in power. And so this is going to be a little different, but I think it's going to be a really good way to honor Kwame. That's the goal. But before we get into it about Kwame, we're going to get into it with the Naptown Breakdown. So what do you got for us today, Derek?
All right. So, major news on December 11th, the Indiana Senate voted to reject redrawn congressional maps ahead of the 2026 midterm elections by a vote of 31-19. A majority of Republicans joined Indiana's 10 Democratic state senators to defeat the proposal, which had passed in the Indiana House. This was against the expectations, anticipations, forecasting of most political pundits and, media people. And of course, Trump and the right-wing political organizations he's involved with, like Turning Point USA, the Heritage Foundation, were putting immense pressure on the Republicans to pass the redrawn map, even going so far as to threatening to withhold federal funding to Indiana if the map was not passed. Of course, later he walked that back once he realized that it doesn't matter if he paves the roads or not. They're not getting paved. The redistricting effort, though, and we talked about this earlier, so I won't spend too much time on it, but it's part of a long-standing effort at overthrowing the last remnants of radical Reconstruction after the end of the Civil War, where for a period of time, as W.E.B. Du Bois titled part of his book on it, Black Reconstruction, there was a dictatorship of the proletariat, including the Black proletariat. So, and then the second Reconstruction, which we might call the 50s, 60s, 70s, which really changed mass consciousness, as well as, legal gains, therefore exposing the limitations of legal gains. But those legal gains are nonetheless real important. They couldn't, so they rolled back, Brown v. Board of Education, which they only passed, by the way, because the entire world was like, the U.S. is so backwards. And the Soviet Union at the time had such progressive national racial laws, right? Guaranteeing if you had 3 kids of a national minority in schools, the same school, they had the right to be taught in their language, to read in their language, to sing in their language, to eat their, cultural food. And so did the other children, right? So, the U.S. is like, man, we got to do something about it. But they immediately started rolling it back, just like they did affirmative action. Now, the attack against abortion and women's bodily autonomy wasn't really about that so much as it was a testing ground to see how far they could get with this far right-wing agenda, laying the grounds for Harper v. Moore, which was decided in the way that it was because they knew that they couldn't get away with it, that people would be out in the streets. And so redistricting was their latest attempt at this. The fact that it failed in Indiana, a red state, right, is quite significant. And So why did they do this, right? I mean, obviously they didn't reject it because of their constituents, because they never listened to us.
Right.
They rejected the map because the ruling class itself in Indiana is split on the issue. So, the capitalists of Indiana, they want to avoid confrontation. They don't want to light a spark that could threaten the stability and control they enjoy in the seats of power, basically. So although it's been struck down, the redistricting effort has opened up arguments about blue states, red states, or rural, urban. But those arguments are really just distractions because the rural is the urban is the
That's
rural.
right, yeah.
You go to the rural place, you got internet. You got you go to the most urban place, you don't got the internet, right? So it doesn't matter if you live in the city or the country, capitalist exploitation is still exploitation, and voting blue will not fix the issue, right? In California, where Democrats ruled uninterrupted for half a century, residents have no free healthcare or affordable homes, right? So they're not the solution. If Republicans and Democrats are the problem, then what is the solution? Well, under a socialist system of governance, there would be no needless conflict of interest between small towns and rural areas with cities. Our socialist government would increase the number of elected representatives, ensuring that the needs of working classes and oppressed nationalities are accounted for and addressed no matter where they live. So like in the Soviet Union, there was a Council of Nationalities. And in order for any law to be passed, it had to pass through that body, right? We would do something similar. In the current capitalist electoral system of the U.S., right, there's only one U.S. representative for every 750,000 people, a staggering ratio compared to even Cuba, right? One representative serves 20,000 people. In the Republic of China, each deputy represents 100,000 people. Right. So we would redesign administrative units, and we would also make them live amongst us, because in Cuba, your representative is your neighbor. So like, if all of a sudden they're like driving a BMB, right? Like it keeps them grounded. And ultimately we should institute a more rational administrative units, not governed by the red or the blue party, but by people cooperating together to address and meet the needs that we identify, which are not rolling back the gains that are still there of radical Reconstruction. But, as they say, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. So that leads me next to Voice of the Predator, Osili, Bob Osili. And just in case you thought that the local Democratic Party establishment couldn't sink any lower. I don't think many of you do think that, but you won't after this. This week, Bob Osili, which we call Voice of the Predator, given his role in protecting the Hogsett administration for years and its pervasive culture of misogyny, said he isn't seeking re-election for City County Council. He was first elected in 2011 to represent District 12. He served as council president for 8 years. So if my math serves me right, which it might not, but you listeners can double check me, that means that he's started in 2018. During that entire time, he protected Hogsett and the patriarchal anti-woman culture he facilitated. When asked in late 2025, right, when certain email messages and voicemails were leaked to the public, right? Yeah. About whether he was disturbed by them, he said he was only disturbed by, quote, the appearance of impropriety, not the actual content, but they could appear bad. Now, mind you, this is the same man who in June, the June City County Council meeting, had sheriffs forcibly remove Hogsett's victim, Lauren Roberts. She was testifying. He said, "You're done," and then ordered the sheriffs to forcibly remove her. She does have a case pending. So does he really represent District 12? I know some people in District 12. I don't know them all, but the ones I know are not about that, right? No, I mean, how do people feel about write us, producer at naptownpeoplesradio.com. Let us know. Do you support this or not? as a careerist politician, Osili isn't going away. There's speculation, of course, he's running for or considering a mayoral run, as if things couldn't get any worse. But then again, maybe he wants to make some real money and get into the private sector. And I hear Thomas Cook is in the market for an advisor and henchman. But if he does try to become our city's mayor, he better be ready for some grassroots opposition coming from, I don't want to give it away, but coming from the people.
Just hope. I mean, if people have no clue, then I guess they just gotta wait. They just gotta wait and see. First off, Voice of the Predator. I'm so sick of this dude. I'm so sick of hearing about this dude. Meaning, I would like him to just like go away and just not do anything.
Like go to New Orleans with Gabriel Morley or wherever that.
Oh my God! No, he can't go. He can't go there.
That's true.
He can't go there.
You go there.
I was gonna say I go there. Please don't go to New Orleans. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know. He can go to New York because I feel like comrades in New York would, I don't know, stomp him out or something. Like,
we'll send him the PRC for re-education.
There we go. He can go there. That'd be great. Yeah. It would be interesting to see if he does decide to run for mayor. And I would love to hear from people in District 12, just like you said, and write-ins to see, are there people who are like, yeah, Bob Osili is my guy. Like I would love to hear.
I love that.
I would love to hear from those people just so I can like pick their brain and understand what's happening. But I also know people who live in District 12 and none of them have ever said that. So that would be interesting. Going back to what you were saying about like redistricting as well as like Brown versus Board of Education, right? And I actually started off as an education major. Like I wanted to be a teacher for a long time. Oh my gosh, did I not? I never told you that. I used to want to be a teacher for the longest time.
You keeping secrets from me.
Surprise. But I remember like student teaching. I did this program called Cadet Teaching my senior year of high school. And I taught kindergarten, and most of my kids were like, half of my kids were like, Black kids. There were a couple white kids, and like but the other half was like, Mexican American kids. And I remember like it was a rule that like they could not speak Spanish. Like every time they started speaking Spanish, we had to be like, okay, you have to speak English. Da, da, da. And there were a couple kids who didn't speak English, but. Right. There was way more than 3. Like it would have been fabulous to be able to have, another teacher in there who spoke Spanish to like help those kids, or like have, the content in Spanish, or, at least a translation, something.
Yeah. And also like the English only speaking kids would benefit from that too.
Absolutely.
Like we're the only country in the U.S. in the world where like we predominantly speak one language.
Yeah. No, I remember.
It's embarrassing. It
is embarrassing. I remember my French teacher in middle school talking about how his kids, he's like, oh yeah, I speak 6 languages and my kids speak 3. And I was just like, what a flex, man. Like I'm trying. Like
I barely
I'm trying
know English.
Here, right? Like I don't know. I'm trying here. But like it does go back to what you were saying before of like, this is not a, right. Like the Democrats or the Republicans are not listening to they're not listening to the people who have voted them in. Right. I think in Indiana, one politician, one like senator had like a listening session, which like, honestly, I'm surprised that there was even one, but, it's not about what we think as the people, right? It has more so to do with, one, they can't agree with each other on what to do here as far as redistricting, if they should do it or not. Right. Elections are coming up here soon and they want to keep their jobs, but like it more so has to do with that. Like they can't agree amongst themselves. They have no desire to listen to the people who put them in office. And when I say they, I mean Democrats and Republicans, right? Like, I'm not just talking about one party over the other.
Oh.
Oh, did you know that? Yeah.
I thought they were like vote blue or die or whatever.
Vote blue or die. No.
No, what's the saying?
No, I don't know.
Vote blue no matter
who.
How terrible they are.
There we get it. There it is. Vote blue no matter who.
No matter how many genocides they've committed.
Yeah. I think there's a red saying too. I can't remember what it is. I don't know. Vote red or you're dead. I have no idea. I don't know what it is.
Better red than dead.
I mean, yeah, maybe. I don't know. But regardless, right?
Thank you for that, Terry.
regardless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't actually matter, like which color you're voting, or if it's an elephant or a donkey. You know, these poor animals getting represented by these people. What is going to fill their pockets? What is going to be better for them? And Trump talking about he's not going to send federal funding and we're not going to have our roads paved. Like, I said this to you when I found this out, but I was like, bro, I play Mario Kart every day on my way home and to work. Like, what are you talking about? You're not going to pave the roads. Like, yeah. Indiana has some of the worst roads in this country. Like, it's actually embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing when people come in for like any event, 500, the All-Star games. It's always so embarrassing because it's like our roads are so horrible. If you don't live in Indiana, just so you know, roads are absolutely atrocious here. So like, that's a joke. That's a joke. You're not going to pave our roads. Our roads aren't paved already. Like,
and in fact, last year there were like just people going on filling potholes by themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah. Like, just regular people.
It's almost like we can manage the city ourselves.
Yeah. What a thought.
We will be right back with more from Naptown People's Radio.
Welcome back to Naptown People's Radio, your source of news about, by, and from the people's perspective. My name is Lucas Lee, and I am an organizer with the Indy branch of Party for Socialism and Liberation. As Dani mentioned in the first segment, this week we lost a local and national giant in the struggle, Kwame Shakur. Kwame's spirit and his words are still with us. So instead of talking about Kwame, we wanted to let Kwame speak for himself. We're going to play a 10-minute clip from one of the first times we met and worked with Kwame. He came out to our Liberation Forum in August of 2019. We could tell we were comrades early on, so during the discussion period, we let him have the floor. Thankfully, comrades with critical thought critique were there to capture his off-the-cuff remarks titled, "Real Emancipation Means Revolution." In this segment, Kwame gives a bit of his backstory, articulates his ideology, and, most importantly, the importance he accorded to strategic political thinking.
Okay, I'm Kwame Shakur. I'm from Indianapolis, originally born and raised here. The main organization that I'm about to start right now, it's coming from the Ferguson situation that I've been working with Vita Washington Sterling Abusali. That's Alton Sterling's auntie. I've met her back in October last year. We was up in Chicago standing up against police brutality and terror on October 22nd. It's the National Day of Protest. If people out here this October 22nd coming up, come out here and support these movements, stand with these families, stand against police terror, brutality, because it's necessary. But when I met her last year, we was in a formation of trying to come together on certain different things. So working with the Stolen Lives family was a real important thing to me because they're killing Black and brown people every single day. We see this as slow genocide. coming from this new Jim Crow policy that's been enacted on our community ever since the 60s. It's a repackaging, like this sister Doris said in here today. It's a repackaging from the slave patrols to the police patrols today, but it's done in a sophisticated way, a sophisticated manner. And it's all because they tried to prevent a civil rights, a black liberation movement from rising again. This is what Michelle Alexander was talking about in her book, The New Jim Crow. You know, so it's to prevent, it's a backlash against the 60s to prevent a 60s moment. But what they failed to recognize is that when you start to police our community and be more of a aggressive occupying force in our community, we was gonna have these different confrontation and exchanges with you that eventually we was gonna be getting killed by y'all on a higher level. And eventually we was gonna wake up and start to see that this is not something that is abnormal. It's actually how the system works. You dig what I'm saying? And that's the one of the most integral things that a person should take away from that book. But me and Vita, when we was down at Ferguson just this past a couple weeks ago, standing with Mike Brown. You know, that Mike Brown situation that happened down there, that was like the start of the movement that we seeing around the Stolen Lives family. But when we went down there, we realized like 5 years later, where are we at today? You know, I seen one report says 5,000 people plus 5,000 plus people has been killed by the police since then. It's not ending. So we have to have a new strategy, a new national strategy going forward. So when me and Vita was down there in Ferguson, we came together and we decided that we're going to start an organization called Real Emancipation Means Revolution. And what that means is that we're going to start to realize that ever since the time of slavery, we talked about emancipation. We talk about this white supremacist, and he was a white supremacist. Abraham Lincoln was a white supremacist. I hate when I hear any of these lukewarm politicians and fake ass leaders out here talking about this dude like he really stood for us. Well, read some of his speeches. This is the same person said, I would never allow a black person sit on a jury and convict a white person. I will never allow intermarriage between blacks and whites to occur. You dig what I'm saying? That's something that Donald Trump was probably say. You dig what I'm saying? Let's call it for what it's worth. But a lot of these leaders out here, these lukewarm leaders, they betrayed us. They compromised. That's what they're doing. They compromise. But us and this organization that I'm putting together with Vita and some of these other, I just talked to Derek with this organization right here. He's going to be one that's going to unite with our organization. And I'm glad that I ran into this brother. I met him the first time down when we was protesting the homeless situation down there. And we was speaking to the city council building when the community came out in large numbers and spoke truth to power. We told them in their face and didn't flinch one bit that this right here, this situation y'all doing against the homelessness. Well, let's look at Honduras when y'all just put this fascists out in power down there under the Obama and Clinton administration. Okay, a lot of people don't realize that. And all these immigrants that's coming up here, leaving this Honduras and these Central American communities, states and countries, because y'all put a lot of fascists in there. Y'all been messing with those countries' politics for over 100 years. You dig what I'm saying? But you're going to talk about some homelessness. You created a whole homeless nation. You dig what I'm saying? So when we went out there and spoke to city, county, we spoke truth to power. But we need to start doing that more here. So I'm glad I came out here and heard Doris speak, Derek speak, because I see that we have real revolutionaries that's here in Indianapolis that's committed to standing with people in these communities in Indianapolis and addressing these problems head on in a revolutionary way. Okay, the best way as of right now, as I formulate the organization, get everything set up, Facebook is probably the best way to reach me. My government name on my Facebook is Dayon, Dayon, last name Miller, parentheses Kwame. You know, and you contact me, a friend request me, send me a text or inbox me on Messenger, and I'm willing to work with any organization that's about standing up with the community and addressing these issues dealing with police brutality and terror. That's my main focus. But at the end of the day, it's not limited to that. If we don't start to talk about uniting different organizations that's fighting different struggles, like the women's liberation movement, you dig what I'm saying, dealing with abortion. They need to be united with the Stolen Lives movement. You dig what I'm saying? The individuals out here talking about the immigrants that's being put in these concentration camps. We need to unite with those movements. The women's liberation movement, the Stolen Lives movement, and the immigrant, the ones that's dressing this immigrant situation. We all need to be united because we're going against the same fascist regime. You dig what I'm saying? Climate change. This is one of the major problems a lot of people don't talk about. 12 years, they predict that we're not going to be able to reverse what climate change has done to this globe. We're one species, but we allow these capitalist imperialists to go on so long, burning down these forests. We allow these imperialists, these wars of imperialists to bomb all these countries using all these fossil fuels and also displacing millions of people. Millions. It's like 65 million refugees around the world. This is the reason why this fascist movement is developing in all these countries, because people are fleeing their countries, going to other countries. And then these fascists within these right-wing parties are coming to power because they're using this as all the invaders. The invaders are coming in our countries. Well, what did you do to cause all these people to flee their countries to even come over here? Let's talk about that part. You dig what I'm saying? Stop talking about this white supremacy shit, because we tired of hearing this white supremacy shit. You dig what I'm saying? But when they come over here, they are brothers and sisters too. Ain't no aliens, no illegal aliens. If anybody, is the motherfuckers that came over and killed all these Native Americans and took over their land, or went down to Mexico in the Mexican-American War and took their land. You dig what I'm saying? They was the invaders. Let's keep this shit real. You dig what I'm saying? So this is what this free, real emancipation means revolution is about. It's about speaking truth to power. It's about raising the consciousness of the masses. And it's also putting boots on the ground, like this situation right here. Rashad Cunningham means we got to fight back. They killed this brother up in Gary, Indiana last week. A Philandro Castile situation. This dude has a legal permit gun sitting on his lap, and a black police officer. Listen to this. All you reformists out here talking about we need more black police officers. Just because you got a black face don't mean you don't have a white supremacist mind or you're following white supremacist policies. You dig what I'm saying? This is what this new Jim Crow is about. They're following white supremacist policies. I don't give a fuck if it's all black people in that organization and Hispanic. They're carrying out white supremacist policies, and people need to understand what this new Jim Crow is, because it's a slow genocide on our community. You dig what I'm saying? And if we do not get out here in mass numbers and address this, like when I go up to Chicago, Gary, this weekend, if need be, like I told ones, we're coming up there. If we got to shut that motherfucker down, we'll shut that motherfucker down, because at the end of the day, we gonna make them, we the masses, we the majority, not the state. You dig what I'm saying? We know how one thing Martin Luther King, and I wanted to, this goes out to all the people that talks about voting and stuff. You know, all you reformists talk about voting and stuff like that. Well, one thing I learned from Martin Luther King that you need to take a lesson from the man that got the Voting Rights Act passed. What was he still doing? What was his main political power? It was boots on the ground. That's real political power. When you out mass mobilizing like the Poor People's Campaign that he was trying to do at that time, he showed us that the voting, even though he was a radical democratic socialist and stuff, and I disagree with some of his political lines, but a lot of his political lines, but I think he did a lot for us at that time. So I always salute Martin Luther King, but I'm more of a student of the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton. You dig what I'm saying? Where when we out here in mass numbers, and we put political pressure to bear, we'll realize where true power come. It don't come from voting in one of these politicians that's going to lie to you and sell you out. You dig what I'm saying? It's about putting boots on the ground, organizing the masses, and waking up their consciousness and showing that this system is illegitimate at the end of the day. And we don't need to be legitimize this system by coming out here thinking these politicians is going to save us. You dig what I'm saying? We the people got to fight for humanity. Humanity first, not America first, not Great Britain first, not South America first, not Iraq first. They're pitting all of us against each other. We need to unite as a whole. This is an international proletarian movement that we're building right now. You dig what I'm saying? And this is what this real emancipation means revolution is about. You dig?
I never do, Kwame, but I wish I did. And I'm glad we have artifacts like these so I can get to know him. I can see why he and the PSL and ILC got along so well. And I can, probably like you, sense how open he was to working with anyone who had one goal in their mind, winning. Thanks for listening. Rest in power, Comrade Kwame, and we'll be right back for the final segment at Naptown People's Radio.
All right, so welcome back to Naptown People's Radio. Today's Circle City shout out goes to Kwame Shakur. So our deepest condolences go out to Kwame Shakur's family. At the time of this recording, yesterday, as in December 15th, Comrade Kwame Shakur's wife reported his transition to the ancestors. So after this episode, you should know a lot more about Kwame. But for those who do not know, Kwame did 20 years in prison where he was politically radicalized. And he took this traumatic event and turned it into love and solidarity for the people. We at the PSL Indie branch, we first met Kwame during the fall of 2018 during the struggle against the anti-homeless sit-lie ordinance. We had a liberation forum about gentrification in which Kwame, he came out to, and it led to this beautiful camaraderie over the past, couple years, almost 10 years now, actually. And Kwame, he traveled often, he was always somewhere, but whenever he was in town, he would hit us up and we would support one another, and in his endeavors as well as in our own. And after 2018, PSL Indy and Kwame were organizing the Free Them All campaign during the COVID-19 pandemic. And it was, after this time when IMPD killed 2 people, really 3 people within 24 hours, 2 of them being Mikhail Rose and Drayshawn Reed. So the rallies that followed were both on Saturday. One being downtown and the other one being where Drayshawn was killed by IMPD officers. And the downtown protest was where a great deal of activists were, which is no shade to them, but the one that was, there was another one that was where Drayshawn was killed. And that's where the people were, that's where Drayshawn's family was. And so that's where the PSL was, right? We're always going to show up where the people are. And at this time, PSL Indy was all white comrades, which can certainly be off-putting in a situation like this. But Kwame, Kwame didn't care about, if your politics were a little bit different than his. He didn't care if you didn't look like him. His concern was for the people. Are you showing up for the people? Do you care about the people? And if the answers to those are yes, then you're good with Kwame. You were good with Kwame. He was a people person. He was a voice for the people. And with that voice, he introduced Derek, who was the only white person to speak at that rally, and really gave kind of credibility to our branch in this city. So Kwame, after that, Kwame moved to Florida for a bit. But when he came back, we were right back at it with like the Herman Whitfield III campaign. And we were honored to have the induction for the Black Liberation Party at our last Indie Liberation Center. And, so many other events that we were able to put on with and in solidarity with Kwame. And anyone who knew Kwame knew he always had one foot in the street and the other in politics. One of his favorite phrases, if you see a video or you went to a protest, one of his favorite phrases were boots on the ground, which means
boots on the ground,
which means you gotta be with the people. You gotta be in the struggle. And very much embodying what we say on this podcast every episode, that theory without action is paralysis. Kwame wasn't in the party. He wasn't in the PSL. And we had our ideological differences, but he was a comrade. And so from those of us from the PSL, the Indie Liberation Center, and Naptown People's Radio, we send our heartfelt condolences to Kwame's family. Rest in peace, comrade.
Yeah, rest in peace to Kwame. You know, he was just such a genuine dude, and he was traveling around a lot. And I was always like, man, like, but he would come back here and he would just like immediately have like 20, 30 people around him because he was that kind of magnetic force. And, you know, he could talk and he could walk. He walked the walk too. And, you know, I'll never forget like the first Liberation Forum he showed up at. And like, yeah, every time I was like, what are you doing? You want to get involved? What are we doing? You know? And I was always like, come on, like when he come back here and I wouldn't hear about it for a couple of days, I'd be like, dude, why don't you call me? You know? And when he got to Florida, Miami, like I immediately texted our comrades down there. I was like, hey, Kwame's there. Just so you know, he's like a comrade, you know, be with him, you know, take him in as one. And in fact, I got a message from one of those comrades, Ruth Beltran, you know, did you hear what happened? So, you know, it's very sad. And I spent the weekend with Leon Benson, who, you know, Kwame dedicated his book to. They were very close. And, you know, I mean, who would have thought that, you know, we come home and, you know, the news would be he would be passed. But, you know, he's still with us, and everything we do, we carry on his spirit. And we will do that in many ways this week, including our usual, you know, routines. We have Circle City Sangha Saturday, 9:30 to 11 a.m., emancipatory yoga, emancipatory motions, political yoga, Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m. We also have our monthly Liberation Forum this Thursday, December 18th at 6 p.m. on redistricting, recessions, and how to fight. There's a community food giveaway, Joy to the Pantry, which is going to take place on Wednesday, December 17th from 2 to 4 at Pride Park. And finally, now that the Shaka Shakur documentary is out, we are organizing screenings of the documentary with panelists, variety of panelists, depending on where you are. So go to shakashakur.org and, you know, organize a screening of this film, because we've launched the film. It'll launch at just the beginning. We got to keep it going. We got to keep raising funds, and we got to get Kwame Shakur free so he can free us and free everybody else. And that's it for this episode of Naptown People's Radio. If you found today's discussion useful, pass it on, leave a comment, and send some love at support.naptownpeoplesradio.com. If you have a suggestion for the show or want to let us know what you think about Osili, email producer@naptownpeoplesradio.com. The road ahead is long, but we walk it together. Study with your comrades, build with your community, and always remember, theory without action is paralysis, but action without theory is chaos. Once again, I'm your host, Derek Ford, here with my comrade and co-host,
Dani Abdullah.
Stay dangerous, stay disciplined, and stay in the struggle.
We trying to create a movement. We got a chance to do something in Indiana that brothers like myself been talking about for the last 40 years. When I first became political and we was organized behind the walls in the 80s and 90s, some of the stuff that we doing now with the different programs and the different institutions that we have and things like the Indie Center is things that we used to talk about and dream about doing. And now we doing them. See what I'm saying? We doing it. And we got to keep that momentum going. And it's also generation. So as the next generation come up, you know what I'm saying, it's on y'all to take it to the next level and take it to the next stage.
Salute, Shaka Shakur.